government don't advise. Stop unnecessary waka about. So make we not spread this virus.
Coronavirus. No be only big man like me they catch you. If it catch anybody, even poor man yourself if it get am. So make we join hand together. Take stop with this deadly disease where they kill our people and they never get a cure.
Together, we go overcome if we do all the things where they tell us to do.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
The EU support is focused on the people most at risk. Africa and Nigeria are vital priorities.
European Union support to curb coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria boosts UN basket fund by €50 million.
There is a plan to build isolation centers near the border.
The federal government moves to curtail more importation of coronavirus cases, set to build isolation centers in states bordering neighbors with rising cases of COVID-19. 2-week lockdown extension in Lagos, Ogun, and the nation's capital takes effect as President Buhari legalizes regulation to that effect.
Depending on the direction we are going, the driver just changes location.
Plus, additional train coaches to improve rail transportation both in Nigeria. Good evening. Glad to have you join us for the network news on NTA. I am Kenne Ima Abodike in Abuja. Reading with me tonight is Hengino John Adams in Lagos, while Enugu will join us much later. The European Union has announced a donation of €50 million to support Nigeria's efforts at containing the coronavirus pandemic. The European Union ambassador to Nigeria, Ketil Carlsen, during a solidarity visit to President Muhammadu Buhari, revealed that the amount, which is equivalent to 21 billion naira, is to be channeled through the UN COVID-19 Basket Fund. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
I wish to upfront congratulate you on a very powerful address to the nation and commend you indeed for the bold measures that you have taken, necessary measures, no doubt.
The European Union Ambassador Carlsen emphasized clearly heard President Buhari's call for assistance, and this swift reaction is indeed a demonstration of true partnership. The €50 million donation to Nigeria, he said, is by far the largest single grant contribution so far provided by the EU anywhere outside Europe.
COVID-19 must be fought globally. The EU support is focused on the people most at risk. Africa and Nigeria are vital priorities and must not be forgotten or left alone. Now more than ever, we want to show solidarity with our partners. The EU solidarity with Nigeria at this momentous time will save lives. It will also ensure that we protect the gains of the Sustainable Development Goals while safeguarding the livelihoods of the most vulnerable, especially women and girls.
The only desire of the European Union, Mr. Carlson explained, is to be properly guided by President Buhari and genuinely support his vision, priorities and policies towards addressing the situation.
We wish to commend you thoroughly, Your Excellency, for taking bold measures to limit the spreading of the virus, flattening the curve, reducing the adverse economic effects and increasing availability of testing and treatment. Nobody and no country can fight this scourge alone. I personally think that we have never before had a better partnership with Nigeria than under these difficult circumstances.
The EU had already provided 1.2 million euros to UNICEF for the COVID action of the government.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who commended the European Union for the gesture, said the donation will go a long way in supporting Nigeria's efforts at controlling and containing the global pandemic, as well as revitalizing the national health systems.
I'm indeed touched and grateful that the European Union still has the vision and foresight to remember its friends, partners, and allies across the world. This brotherly support will save millions of lives. Nigeria will remain grateful for generations to come.
Nigeria, President Buhari maintained, has done a lot in the fight against COVID-19, and efforts are now focused on preventing community spread.
I want to assure you, in this fight, Nigerians are united. And by the grace of God and the continued support from our partners, we will succeed.
The president used the occasion to express sincere condolences of the government and people of Nigeria to EU member countries and families who lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, expressing confidence that the global community will emerge stronger from this tragedy. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Still on the COVID-19 pandemic, the first batch of consignments containing essential medical supplies against the virus has been delivered to Nigeria by the United Nations at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Aviation correspondent Emmanuel Ayimiro now brings us details.
Help has continued to come the way of Nigeria to contain the spread of coronavirus pandemic. This time around, it is the turn of the United Nations in Nigeria, which donated some personal protective equipment and ventilators to curb the spread of COVID-19.
The first shipment that arrived with the Allied cargo today is 50 ventilators and 3,605 kilograms of PPE equipment and materials. The second shipment is expected with thousands of PPEs, and the third shipment is also expected with testing kits.
We'll continue our collaboration with the government, and we also have, as you know, established a basket fund, and part of that will also be commodities. So yes, we expect more support from the United Nations to come.
Representatives of the federal government who received the items appreciated the UN and Allied Air Cargo for transporting the items free to Abuja.
Task Force COVID-19, we accept this kindness from the UN system, and we assure them it's going to be utilized for the betterment of our people in this country.
And we will do everything possible to use this to assist our people, particularly those that have been positive for this COVID-19.
Nigeria assured the UN of effective utilization of the medical items. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to the presiding officers of the National Assembly in furtherance of his strategic engagement with critical stakeholders towards containing the coronavirus pandemic in the country. Senate President Ahmed Lawan, who spoke to newsmen after the meeting, maintains that both the executive and the legislature are on the same page regarding efforts at tackling the health challenge. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu tells us more.
Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker Femi Bajabiamila were in the State House to compare notes with President Muhammadu Buhari on various issues regarding the fight against COVID-19 in the country. This is a follow-up to the series of engagements the leadership of the National Assembly had with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, ministers and other stakeholders coordinating efforts at tackling the global pandemic and providing succor to the nation's poor and most vulnerable. Speaking to newsmen after the closed-door meeting, Senate President Ahmed Lawan said addressing possible challenges to be confronted by Nigeria post-COVID-19 were also discussed.
This time, what is upmost to us is to ensure that Nigerians get succor, get relief, and we will do everything possible to ensure that there is equity, there is fairness, there is justice in the distribution of any support, whether it is a relief package or indeed any support in terms of fighting COVID-19 in the states of the Federation. The President has taken the right decision by approving an additional 1 million families to be included in this social register, and I believe that in the next few weeks, the Nigerian people will see a difference in the implementation fully and properly, efficiently and prudently.
Speaker Femi Bajabiamila, on his part, said the engagement with the president is a further demonstration of their commitment towards maintaining synergy in addressing issues relating to the welfare, well-being and security of Nigerians.
The broadcast yesterday was worked well. There were added incentives. What is imperative right now is that when you ask people to stay at home, you must make that home a little bit more comfortable for them. Make sure the light is constant for those 2 months. It's a stimulus. Give it to people free of charge for 2 months so that they'll be able to stay at home more conveniently. It may be a tough sell, but where there's a will, there's a way.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, who also met the President, gives an insight into the presidential approval for the capture of additional 1 million households in the social register.
We are going to focus more now on the urban poor. These are people who depend on the informal sector to, earn their livelihood. They are daily wage earners, and these are the people that we are really going to focus more on, as well as people living with disabilities.
The minister announced plans to hand over the distribution of food items as palliatives for the poor and the most vulnerable to the state governments. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now, in an effort to contain the COVID-19 in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari ordered the cessation of movement in Lagos, Ogun and the Federal Capital Territory for 14 days through the COVID-19 Regulation 2020, which started from March 30 of this year to enable the government to identify, trace and isolate individuals that have come in contact with confirmed cases in order to contain the disease. A press statement by the president now reveals that following events of the past weeks, seen in an increased number of confirmed cases of the disease in the country, President Buhari has signed the COVID-19 Regulation number 2 of 2020, extending the lockdown orders by another 14 days with effect from 11:59 p.m. on Monday, April 13, 2020. The statement clarified that all exemptions under the COVID-19 Regulations 2020 remain as exemptions under these regulations. As of this moment, a total of 343 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed in Nigeria. 91 patients have been discharged and 10 deaths have been recorded. As at 9:50 p.m. Monday night, 13 new cases were reported from Lagos State, 2 each from Edo, Kano and Ogun State, while 1 case was reported from Ondo State. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osagie Ehanire, says 73% of all recorded cases are male and 27% female. Lagos State remains the epicenter of the pandemic. Global coronavirus infections now near 2 million. Joyce Ometo brings us up to speed on developments of the health crisis worldwide.
Confirmed COVID-19 cases worldwide now near 2 million, according to figures released by Johns Hopkins University. As at 6 p.m. local time on Tuesday, the fresh figures reached 1,955,449, with 123,417 deaths. According to the running tally, the United States reported 588,465 cases, the most in the world. Hospitals in the UK reported 12,107 deaths, an increase of 778 on Monday's total. Spain now has 172,541 cases, while Italy, where there is a gradual relaxation of lockdown rules, reported 159,616 cases. Meanwhile, China approved an early-stage human test for 2 experimental coronavirus vaccines. In Africa, the International Monetary Fund has approved immediate debt service relief for 19 African countries for an initial period of 6 months to enable them channel financial resources towards dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. As at 6 p.m. Tuesday, the Africa Center for Disease Control revealed that 52 countries have now reported 15,249 COVID-19 cases, 816 deaths, and 2,895 recoveries. In other news, a first delivery of medical supplies from the World Health Organization has landed in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. Reports say the consignment will be distributed to as many African nations as possible. And that's it from here. Thanks for staying. I am Joyce Umetu.
Still talking COVID-19, the federal government is planning to build isolation centers in states that border neighboring countries, considering the rising cases of the disease among Nigeria's neighbors. This was one of the outcomes of Tuesday's briefing by the Presidential Task Force in Abuja. Mitai Reyiben was there.
With more Nigerians returning from neighboring countries through the land borders, the Presidential Task Force is working at tightening measures to contain the spread of the coronavirus.
The prevalence of COVID-19 in neighboring states is of great concern. Although the borders are closed and there's supposed to be no movement, when Nigerian citizens turn up, they are allowed in. What we do now is to take them to a facility where they can be isolated, one by one, and then screened. Those who are positive are taken into isolation centers. Those who are negative are also tested at the end of their 14 days to be quite sure that they are all right.
We have now activated a total of 12 labs across the country to bring testing closer to the people.
Following reports of attacks by hoodlums on fellow Nigerians, especially in Lagos and Ogun states, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, made his first appearance at the daily briefing to address the issue.
We have instructed all the commissioners of police, the AIGs in charge of the zonal commands, to deploy all the resources available to them to make sure that criminals are not allowed to take the opportunity of the lockdown to perfect their crimes.
Also appearing for the first time, the Minister of Education, Adamu, responded to complaints of delayed salaries of lecturers in some federal universities.
In spite of the lockdown, or perhaps particularly because of it, nobody should have his salary withheld. If there is anybody, then I will attend to that.
With the 2-week extension of the lockdown in Lagos, Ogun, and the FCT by President Buhari, the Presidential Task Force appealed for calm and cooperation from Nigerians.
Such a monumental decision has been taken at great pains, and we continue to appeal to Nigerians to show a lot of understanding.
We are appealing to banks to please continue to provide financial services, especially the availability of cash at ATM.
The public was also encouraged to report any security operative involved in extortion for necessary sanctions. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikwen, NTA News.
Fears of the new rising coronavirus in some parts of China linked to foreigners nearly sparked a diplomatic row between China and Africans. Viral videos about eviction of Nigerians in particular and other allegations of inhuman treatment in Guangzhou created tension, and this informed the need for Nigeria and China to strike a deal as a solution to the issues. Usman Aliyu now reports.
Coronavirus, which dooms the global economy and restricts social life, could have also smeared the international relations between China and other countries, particularly Nigeria. Joint efforts between Nigeria and China exhibiting high sense of decorum is needed at this time to douse the tension because of the allegation of racism against Nigerians in China.
We are good brothers, we are good partners, we are good friends. There is nothing change about that.
Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister says, based on investigations, what happened was entirely a misunderstanding involving Chinese officials and some Nigerians who tested positive for coronavirus or returned from a journey to another country.
The message I'm getting is that they're now on top of the situation, that the Chinese government and our officials there are working closely together. Of course, it didn't help either that one of the Nigerians who was asked to be confined and taken to hospital, shown to be positive, or rather refused to be tested.
It is expected that with the steps taken by both Chinese and Nigerian authorities, mutual suspicion between citizens of the two countries is over once and for all. Usman Aliyu, NTA News.
Up ahead, Nigerians react to two-week lockdown extension and latest on palliatives. Details when we return.
Fellow Nigerians, follow the instructions on social distancing. The irresponsibility of the few can lead to the death of many. Your freedom ends where other people's rights begin. The security agencies have risen to the challenges posed by this unprecedented situation with gallantry, and I commend them. I urge them to continue to maintain utmost vigilance, firmness, as well as restraint in enforcing the restriction orders while not neglecting statutory security responsibilities.
You can choose to do this with your stew, but not your data. Get more out of life with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# today. Data is life.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, in view of the COVID-19 pandemic we are currently challenged with, we at Al-Habibiyya Islamic Society enjoin all Muslims to adhere strictly to government directives geared towards stopping the spread of the virus. These measures include the stay-at-home order, washing of hands with soap and water, using hand sanitizers where water is not available, and other hygiene measures. We remind you all of the words of Allah in the Holy Quran, chapter 2, verse 195, which says, "And do not throw yourselves with your own hands governments into destruction. We also remind you of the hadith of the noble Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which says, do not cause harm or return harm. Please stay at home and stay safe with continuous dua. This message is from Project Itfine of Al-Habibiyya Islamic Society. Al-Habibiyya Islamic Society, from Allah to you, a light.
Glow Stay Home Data Plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Glow Unlimited.
You've seen me promote Lifebuoy soap, but today I urge you to use whichever soap that is nearest to you, because washing hands with soap helps to fight the coronavirus. This is a public service announcement from Lifebuoy.
Cheetah International Hotel, pleasurable evolution you can't resist. A concept delivered. Cheetah International Hotel brings you face to face with an unimaginable experience you can't erase. You'll like to come again and again. One thing you will hate is to be told the story. Another thing you will love is to be part of the story. You are looking for where your gain equals the cost. Break even with Cheetah International Hotel with our world-class event center that is set to blow your mind away. A world-class arena equipped with top-notch facilities, syndicate bedrooms, hall 1, 2, and 3, underground basement hall, gallery, and many more. Located on plot 224, Solomon Law Way, Utako District, Abuja. For more information on your highly distinguished hotel services, call 081 007 18882 or 081 007 18883. Cheetah International Hotel, a place where your history and future is made.
Aggressive disease containment.
Now on lockdown.
It is one of the measures taken by the country.
How long is all this for? Scientists say that's the big question.
News that connects you globally, from the world to your home, with 4 leading news channels 24/7. Live breaking stories on GoTV. GoTV. Live it, love it.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Welcome back. Following extension of lockdown by President Muhammadu Buhari to contain the spread of coronavirus pandemic, Abubakar Usman Akwanga rose out earlier to observe the situation and level of compliance in the Federal Capital Territory.
This is day one of the extension of lockdown in the FCT. We are at the Amadou Bello Way, and it is not business as usual for motorists and other road users. Security here, of course, is tight, as only few vehicular movement are allowed, most of which are either seekers or providers of essential services. This is the popular Garki market. Here, neither sellers nor buyers are around to do the usual hustle and bustle, as the main entrance to the market is under lock and key. And as part of measures, findings show that officials of the market have deployed market guard to key areas to ensure that no trader violate the presidential directive on the extension of lockdown in the FCT. The level of compliance may not be uniform across the Federal Capital Territory, but the enforcement of the directive is carried out in line with statutory regulations by security agents. As the federal government is gradually succeeding in the fight against COVID-19, the prayers of most Nigerians is for the country to overcome this scourge in no distance time. But how are we prepared to adhere strictly to all the infection prevention measures outlined by NCDC to ensure that the country and its people return to normal life? In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
And barely a day into the 2 weeks extension of the stay-at-home order, many residents in Abuja and the environs are moving about and engaging in different endeavors. Momso Damian Dati reports that while the security agents are focused on vehicles, pedestrians are having a field day.
It's the first day of the extension of the 2 weeks lockdown in Abuja City. It appears some people are not aware of the extension or are defiant. Thus, as Kubo, people are clustered in groups, locked up in conversations or busy carrying out one form of transaction or another. The story is almost the same in Karu. But here, the people are either trekking or sitting under overhead bridges for reasons most of them won't say. This low-income earner, who explained his reasons, wants to remain anonymous.
In fact, there is no anything at home again. To stay at home, I have to look other way around to get at least Gary for the family. I trekked all along the way.
At Nyanya and Maraba boundary between the FCT and Nasarawa State, it is business as usual. This may not be unconnected with the fact that one is under lockdown while the other is not. So, the thin boundary does little to separate the two.
I am a security man. If I no go to secure life and property, they will steal my other property and then I'll be sacked.
We are just coming from work. We work with medical centers.
Heavy traffic, vehicular and human movements on motorcycles or on foot continues, with hawkers, food vendors, and all forms of activities in full gear, defying the social distancing.
I just come out to hustle what I will see something to survive.
Carry my wife out, they sell one by one, make her get food to go and give my family.
I would have liked to stay at home, catch some rest, but truly I don't have much in my pocket, so I'm forced to go out.
The security checkpoint at the boundary also builds up traffic, but then the security agents must perform their duty. This may continue for now until a time comes when Nasarawa imposes restrictions on movements or the FCT adopts another strategy to enforce compliance. Momso Damian Ati, NTA News.
The Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, Boboye Oyeyemi, has directed commanding officers across the country to step up enforcement of restrictions and social distancing and impound vehicles found violating the orders. The Corps Marshal's directive is to further ensure that the order on restrictions is diligently and effectively enforced with all sense of professionalism, civility and resilience. Oyemi also advised essential workers to restrain from compromising the social distance directives in vehicles. More Nigerians have continued to react to Monday's presidential speech on the extension of lockdown in Lagos, Abuja and Ogun states by 14 days. Let's get the pulse of the people with our correspondent, Oluseyi Adabo.
Based on all other public health information that we have gathered in Nigeria that helped the president to arrive at that decision. So I believe it's a very worthwhile decision that the president has taken to extend the lockdown. And I believe if we adhere strictly to all the measures that have been put in place, we are going to achieve effective results.
So it's actually a good thing because he wants the country to be good. I guess for the health. Health is wealth. Without health, you can't do anything.
It's a matter of life and death. And if you see what is happening in other countries of the world, definitely as Nigerians, we should take everything seriously. And this fight of COVID-19 is not only government responsibilities. At our individual level, in our household, in our street, and everywhere we find ourselves. Those protocols, those measures that government has ruled out, let us adhere to those protocols. That is the only thing that can save us.
The government does not mean to hurt the citizens, but this is one way to reduce the numbers, the casualty, the contact. The where I needed to that we have to look into. The president made mentions of adding 1 million numbers into the 2.6 already existence, the vulnerable. But I would suggest that this is the time that the government is supposed to prove level of transparency. Who are these people and how did they get it?
A report just in says 19 new cases of COVID-19 have been recorded. 14 are in Lagos, 2 in the FCT, 1 in Kano, 1 in Akwa Ibom, and 1 in Edo State. As at 9:20 p.m., 14 April, there are 362 confirmed cases of COVID-19 reported in Nigeria, while 99 have been discharged with 11 deaths. As the coronavirus pandemic rages, state governors are also stepping up to contain the spread of the virus within their domains. Joining me on the news tonight is the Gombe State Governor, Governor Inuwa Yahaya. Your Excellency, thank you for joining us. Well, earlier today, you addressed the people of your state in a state-wide broadcast where, of course, a lot of issues came up, and you were able to talk more on the dreaded COVID-19 as events or issues were raised. But do tell us, can you be more specific on the main message contained in that broadcast of today?
It's the main the stay at home gathered servants, especially and equally to emphasize that lockdown our country, you've been in the north boundary with 5 other states, but supporting the lockdown, especially at the boundary, so that we can be protected from those states that have cases that have become, especially the ones that have very, very positive relationship with day by day. That is state of Bauchi, Kano, and in fact the Federal Territory. So the effort is more on emphasizing on going by those orders and the need for us to emphasize on social distancing and the need for us to disengage from going for social gatherings and religious gatherings so that we don't close ourselves with one another. The need for us to keep personal hygiene and go by the orders of the NCDC and the State Task Force on COVID-19.
All right, Your Excellency, since Gombe State is yet to record any case of COVID-19, what are the health facilities on ground to combat it in case it occurs?
But we put in a lot of effort to ensure that we are prepared to protect the COVID-19 coming in. But that notwithstanding, we still provided isolation facilities and, in fact, provided intensive care facilities so that in the event that there is a victim here that got registered to be positive, we have the facility or capacity to manage it. That is, in essence, what we've done. We've gotten facilities for isolation in all the senatorial districts of the state, preparatory to getting any emergencies.
And the public in Gombe State, how enlightened are they right now about COVID-19?
They are really aware because the task force we constituted, which is being headed by a renowned professor of urology and a public health administrator, Professor Idris Mohammed, and very seasoned administrators and medical personnel, who have gone around the state and sensitized the people and traditional leadership and the religious leaders and leaders of civil society and other cooperatives and organizations. So in reality, we are getting the support and assistance of all stakeholders, and the public reasonably are complying for now.
Thank you, Governor Inua Yahaya, for your time. The presidency has described as disappointing the reaction of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, over the national broadcast by President Muhammadu Buhari Monday, a speech which the European Union, through its ambassador to Nigeria, congratulated the president on and described as a very powerful address to the nation. Doindia reports.
This statement, signed by the senior special advisor to the president on media publicity, Garba Shehu, stated that the People's Democratic Party has opposed every single decision taken in the interest of national security by the Buhari administration, an action which he said is irresponsible. Garba Shehu also made reference to a comment the week before where the PDP claimed that a foreign leader came and tutored President Buhari, an army general and a successful war commander, on how to fight Boko Haram terrorists. The president, Garba Shehu, says is a leader who has transformed the armed forces in the last 5 years and restored it to a respectable ranking among nations. The senior special advisor, medium publicity, stated, and I quote, PDP's corruption and ineptitude allowed Boko Haram to capture and occupy 18 local governments, making millions to relocate. Nigerians have not forgotten and are waiting for them in 2023. Garba Shehu urges Nigerians to continue their prayers and support for the government of President Muhammadu Buhari towards containing the spread of the coronavirus pandemic and all the social intervention and developmental programs. In Abuja, doing NTA News.
And still on coronavirus, the Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, NCSC, Otumba Segun Ronshawe, has called on Nigerians to cooperate with government in fighting the disease. In a statement, Otumba Ronshawe observes the pain of the president about the impact of the pandemic on Nigerians, informing the critical health and safety interventions. NCAC DG appeals for calm as the additional 2 weeks lockdown takes off and asks Nigerians to see themselves as stakeholders in the efforts to kick coronavirus out of Nigeria, saying the National Council for Arts and Culture would soon unfold culture-based post-COVID-19 skills acquisition scheme that would help unskilled Nigerians support their families and revive the economy. Now, about 200 trailer loads of grains out of the 70,000 metric tons approved by the federal government for distribution to vulnerable Nigerians to cushion the effect of COVID-19 lockdown have been dispatched. Correspondent Eliasu Aliyakubu from the Mina Silos reports that the packaging and loading of the grains were done simultaneously for immediate dispatch of 12,500 metric tons of the grains to Lagos and Ogun State.
This is the silo in Mina, Niger State, one of the federal government strategic food reserve centers across the country, where the handing over ceremony of the approved 70,000 metric tons of grains took place by the Minister of Agriculture, Sabo Nanono, to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk. 6 strategic food reserve centers in the country have been earmarked for the immediate dispatch of the 70,000 metric tons of grains approved by the federal government to cushion the effects of COVID-19 lockdown to vulnerable Nigerians. The 6 earmarked silos are in Elisha, Osun State, Mina in Niger, Gusau in Zamfara, Duzama in Katsina State, Yola in Adama State, and Lafia in Nasarawa State. The National Emergency Management Agency said all arrangements have been put in place for a hitch-free exercise.
I want to assure Nigerians that we'll do all what is possible to make sure these items are delivered in good time.
The challenge we have at this site is that the trucks are not being brought as at when due.
This deliberate effort of the federal government to alleviate the sufferings of vulnerable Nigerians, experts say, is commendable. From Mina in Niger State, Ilyasu Aliyakubu, NTA News.
As the federal government lockdown directive on COVID-19 continues, more intervention from organizations and development partners continue to bring succor to the people, especially the vulnerable. Ruth Aguela reports that the latest support of food items is coming from Flour Mills Nigeria PLC.
Since the outbreak of coronavirus in Nigeria and the federal government's directive of a partial lockdown, the realities that come to bear has led to several challenges across the country, especially with the most vulnerable in the society, whose means of livelihood and access to food have been greatly affected. To elevate the effects of the lockdown on Nigerians, Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC, owners of the iconic food brand Golden Penny, is donating several food items across the country. The company recently donated essential food items to Lagos, Kaduna, Ekiti, Cross River, Ogun and Niger State to support families that have been affected as a result of the partial lockdown aimed at containing the COVID-19 spread. All these products will be provided to as much as 15 states across the nation as part of a larger initiative to donate several trucks of food items worth over 400 million naira. FMN also announced plans to support frontline medical personnel who have continued to work tirelessly to treat COVID-19 patients in the country by donating medical relief materials and kits. Earlier, through the Coalition Against Coronavirus, FMN donated the sum of 1 billion naira to the Central Bank of Nigeria to help the country tackle the pandemic. For 60 years now, FMN has continued to provide its purpose to the nation through several initiatives as we navigate this crisis with hope, knowing that there are better times ahead as Flour Mills continues to feed the nation every day. In Abuja, Ruth Aguela, NTA News.
Now, the 50 billion naira monetary stimulus put in place by the Central Bank of Nigeria to cushion the effect of COVID-19 on households and SMEs is ready for disbursement to beneficiaries. Benny Adams reports that the applicants are to pay no fees for processing and the funds will be disbursed by the Nassau Microfinance Bank.
Part of the federal government stimulus package through the CBN is a 50 billion targeted credit facility for households and micro, small and medium enterprises affected by the pandemic. Procedures for accessing the fund, the CBN says, has been clearly spelled out and includes non-payment of application processing fees.
Business plan is no longer a mandatory requirement. Neither NISA or Central Bank charge application fee for loan access through COVID-19 intervention fund by Central Bank and Nassau Microfinance Bank welcome application from credible businesses and households to mitigate the effect of COVID-19. And consequently, according to our set business plan, people provide or submit independently.
I'm assuring you that the Central Bank of Nigeria is resolved, fully resolved, and that National MAB is fully resolved to push on with this program, to help our families, households, and small businesses.
They emphasized that applicants with business plans stand better chances of benefiting. The guidelines indicate that the fund avails households up to 3 million naira and SMEs up to 25 million naira, with evidence of cash flow up to 3 years to show capacity for repayment. Benny Adams, NTA News.
Lagos Network Center has our next story.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has issued a strong warning to defaulters who flout the lockdown order of President Muhammadu Buhari and criminals who have used it as an opportunity to perpetrate crime, saying that they will have themselves to blame if caught in the act. Governor Sanwo-Olu made this known while briefing journalists after the State Security Council meeting at the Lagos State Government House. Marina Nosausula reports.
Babajide Sanwo-Olu enjoined residents to comply with the federal government's extension of the Restriction of Movement Directive and maintain law and order in the state, adding that the COVID-19 test and treatment in the state is free.
One of our key responsibilities as an administration is the safety and security of life and property of all our citizens, and we will not abandon this responsibility at any time.
The governor stated that 9 more patients have been discharged from the Yaba isolation facility to join society.
I also cannot end this very short speech without thanking Mr. President, President Muhammad Buhari, and the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and the chairman and members of Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 for their strong leadership and exceptional support they've given to us.
The governor assured residents that government would partner with local vendors in various communities in the state to provide cooked meals for them, adding that the restriction of movements is a tough decision but a necessary step in the battle for survival against the COVID-19 pandemic. In Lagos, Nusa Usula, NTA News.
That's it from Lagos. We now take a break. Network News continues shortly.
Amaka, àní kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Sọ tó ṣẹlẹ̀ fún mi.
I just want to be alone. Free me, oh. I will not leave my house.
They did what?
Daddy, I don't know what to do. I don't know.
My way.
Mama, what's happening? What's happening?
Now you know, now so we did.
Follow my law.
Reach where we did today. So
Papa, this is my husband's house.
Everybody they try. We dey catch feelings. We dey cry. Life is sweet if you try. If you do better thing, you go drive.
Amaka. Stay where you are. Amaka. You are going nowhere. Amaka.
For blockbuster movies like this, series and much more, download the NTA TV app.
Mr. Announcer, you don't tell them say this film is still there on top of fire. And you say me, we see the shoot, so.
So while we finish up this movie, you can download the NTA TV app and watch movies like this and many more. No subscription or free access.
Joe, give me pattern. I should want be showing me Johnny.
Download the NTA TV app from Apple and Android Play Store. Enjoy for 7 days data free. NTA TV by Airtel, the smartphone network.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Welcome to our wonderful world of data with these incredible new offers from your #1 4G network nationwide. Glow Unlimited.
Nigerians, coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide, don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. live long, live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
It's time to take responsibility. So I'm staying home, watching videos and learning as well. We are all aware of the pandemic hitting the world today. The COVID-19 virus is real. A big thank you to all our health workers, doctors, nurses, everybody fighting this pandemic in their own way. Please stay home, save lives. Prevention is better than cure. Stay responsible.
The International Monetary Fund, IMF, said on Tuesday that it expects sub-Saharan Africa's gross domestic product to contract by 1.6% this year, compared to 3.1% growth in 2019, as the coronavirus pandemic impacts the region's economics. Amina Nujain presents highlights of the World Economic Outlook by the IMF.
Various African governments have imposed lockdowns and curfews to curb the spread of coronavirus. But the restrictions are putting pressure on most economies, some of which are already in recession. Under the assumption that the COVID-19 pandemic and required containment peaks in the second quarter for most countries in the world and recedes in the second half of 2020, the fund projects the global growth in 2020 to fall to -3%. Now, this is a downgrade from 6.3 percentage points from January 2020, a major revision over a very short period of time as presented by the IMF's chief economist. This makes the Great Lockdown the worst recession since the Great Depression in 1930 and far worse than the global financial crisis. The IMF in its World Economic Outlook says that Nigeria's GDP forecast will fall 3.4% this year after growing 2.2% in 2019. Amina Nushaim, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the latest ethnic violence in Taraba, which left a large number of people dead. President Buhari said he is deeply disturbed by the resort to violence over disagreements that could be resolved through dialogue. He said the frequent incidents of ethnic and communal violence is a failure of community leadership and the refusal to embrace dialogue as a means of conflict resolution, stressing that violence has never settled any problem. The president sympathized with the victims and their families and appealed to leaders at all levels in Taraba State to seize the initiative in order to forestall outbreaks of deadly violence by thugs. He prayed God to forgive the innocent people that lost their lives in the violence and comfort their families. Let's now take our next report from the Enugu Network Center.
Thank you, Kene, and welcome to Enugu. As the federal government provides and has promised to sustain the provision of palliatives to the poor and vulnerable Nigerians to cushion the effect of the lockdown, various groups and individuals in Enugu State are complementing government's efforts through the distribution of food and essential materials to various households. In an effort to curtail the rising cases of the coronavirus in the country, President Muhammadu Buhari had on the 29th of March this year imposed a 14-day lockdown on Lagos, Ogun, as well as the FCT. Most state governments also adopted these measures. The federal government is, however, not unaware of the hard times Nigerians are passing through within this period of lockdown. The reason it has provided palliatives and stimulus package to ensure that people do not die of hunger.
I feel very much excited.
Of course, today is great. Today is great because it is distribution of relief material.
To complement federal government's efforts in this regard, various groups, individuals, and organizations have distributed various food items such as bags of rice, cartons of beverages, and other edibles to various households in the state.
Highly delighted about this palliative that is given to our community.
This is just a palliative to help support the people, honor and support government.
In a message to Nigerians this Monday, President Muhammadu Buhari extended the restriction order by 14 days, having considered the briefing and report from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, promising to sustain the palliatives to ease the pains of the restrictive policies.
The federal government has taken delivery of additional train coaches as part of efforts to improve the rail system of transportation in the country. Correspondent Lanre Weleyi was at the main line Papalanto in Ogun State for first-hand information.
Diesel multiple unit DMU passenger trains was specifically built to meet the requirements of Nigerian environment, taking into consideration the socio-economic, cultural and physiological needs.
We call them diesel multiple units because it's a sect and you have multiple heads, you have multiple power. Both sides at the beginning because you have the motive power at both ends. Depending on the direction you are going, the driver just changes location, either from the north or from the south. So we ordered 2 sets at the beginning, and the 2 sets have arrived. We are taking one to Abuja, Kaduna, and we will commence our operation with one in Lagos, Ibadan. We are still expecting 44 more coaches.
Each set of train has the capacity to take about 500 passengers at once.
They are here, and there's no doubt that this 88 seating capacity, 56 seating capacity, and 24 seating capacity coaches will make Nigeria travel in style and comfort. From Papalanto Station in Ogun State, Lanre Weleyi, NTA News.
And that's Network News tonight. Thanks indeed for watching. My name is Kenan Ima Awodike. Have a good night.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Welcome, dear. Have you washed your hands?
Inside my house again. This thing not the key black man.
I don't know if it's misinformation or poor hygiene that will kill you first. Coronavirus is real, and good hygiene practice will save your life. Anyway, no hand washing, no eating.
I will not take care of it. How's one of the parents?
Coronavirus is real and it's on the rise. But you can help yourself and help others to be safe. Remember, we can stop the spread. It's in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
And I've got this very important message for you guys. Stay at home. No. Stay safe. Noruma. This is the right thing to do at this time. And don't forget, remember to wash your hands. Sachasia kage samaya sama, sachasia isia kage ofuma. Together, we'll beat this thing. Are you ready now? Are you ready, man?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, in view of the COVID-19 pandemic we are currently challenged with, we at Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society enjoin all Muslims to adhere strictly to government directives geared towards stopping the spread of the virus. These measures include the stay-at-home order, washing of hands with soap and water, using hand sanitizers where water is not available, and other hygiene measures. We remind you all of the words of Allah in the Holy Quran, chapter 2, verse 195, which says, "And do not throw yourselves with your own hands into destruction." We also remind you of the hadith of the noble Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which says, "Do not cause harm or return harm." Please stay at home and stay safe with continuous dua. This message is from Project Itfine of Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society. Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society, from Allah to you, a light.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
With the outbreak of COVID-19 in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, in a nationwide broadcast, directed the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, to disburse funds to those in the National Social Register enrolled in the cash transfer program as beneficiaries. Poor and vulnerable citizens are being paid 20,000 naira each, representing 4 months, January to April. This payment is part of federal government palliatives to cushion the effect of the lockdown put in place to prevent further spread of COVID-19 in the country. These disbursements are ongoing across the country, and this is our focus today on Dateline 360. Thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Ojije Ochi. Welcome. The conditional cash transfer of the federal government today has gone beyond just providing succor to the poor and vulnerable persons in the country. For Asukwo Andem, one of the beneficiaries in Odukpani local government area of Cross River State, the money has literally resuscitated his ailing mother at this time of lockdown. Umo Basi Edet has the report.
The federal government's conditional cash transfer could not have come at a better time than now, when we have a lockdown across the country and the streets are dry, nothing is happening, the economy is gradually coming to a standstill. This cash transfer has brought a lot of hope to the poor and the vulnerable in Cross River State.
The government do something is good because like my mom see, she not well, so for now, government help my mom see to wake up now. My mom see feel normal.
Asukwo Andem is one of the 11,995 beneficiaries of the conditional cash transfer in Cross River State. Others too have this to say.
Federal government, thank you. May God bless in Jesus' name.
This money will help me to do any other thing, my farming, my business, my children in the school. This man can help me to do any other thing in the world.
Must thank the federal government, especially our president, seconded by our governor, Professor Ben Ajade, for the beneficial he has given to us. Since 2018, we have started discouraging the beneficial. A lot of us, we are so poor, no capability to train our children. But because of this, our beneficial that the federal government and state government support us, we have now been able to, at least that little they are giving us, we have used that and train our students, our children.
Thank you, government.
In Cross River State, 235,900,000 naira is to be paid to beneficiaries across the 18 local government areas of the state.
And there's what is called the top-up. Top-up is paid as extra to the vulnerable groups, and these are especially the pregnant women, lactating mothers, and women with children less than 5 years old. And so they are usually paid double. So for this particular set of people, as against 20,000 naira that is paid to the other vulnerable groups and poor families, these people are receiving 40,000 naira as we speak. They are all happy, they are all overjoyed, and they're thanking the president and the governor of Cross River State, Senator Professor Ben Ayade, for this.
There's a lot of technology that is leveraged to make sure that this process is very credible. The people have cards. There's a computer system or an application on the phone. It scans the card, identifies who the person is, confirms the amount the beneficiary is supposed to receive, and even has some sort of like a password using a specific object that is only known to the person. So that way someone can't steal the card and come and misrepresent as the beneficiary. So what I've just witnessed is a very transparent, very accountable process.
We are actually here to ensure that whatever is being done here, the process is, transparent, and the beneficiaries are actually the ones that have been captured. And for us, coming here, we've seen that the process that is ongoing here is well structured, and everything is going on well.
They're paying 3 LGAs simultaneously across the state. And as I said, all the 18 LGAs of Cross River State are benefiting from this program.
The payments made to the poor and vulnerable households would also cushion the effect of the COVID-19 lockdown. And so in Cross River State, payment is almost concluded, and the disbursement team says they are going to also carry out what is known as mop-up exercise to ensure that everybody is taken care of.
Umo, it's cheering to know Asukwo's Momsi is back in good health. Definitely, more Momsis will benefit. In Kaduna, about 500,000 vulnerable households will benefit from the disbursement of ongoing federal government's conditional cash transfer. Major Ma'a Adamu reports that more than 1,000 households in Kachia local government area of the state have already received their pay.
Aishatu Muhammad there full of excitement as she receives her conditional cash transfer.
May Allah bless the president. We are grateful for this gesture.
With all steps taken to stay safe from COVID-19 while getting paid, the process was hitch-free. These two micro-scale businesswomen have been able to scale up their investments courtesy of their prudent management of the grant, and same revolutionary trend crisscrosses thousands of beneficiary families in the state.
I thank God for this money, and I will use it to improve my business.
I was doing nothing, but with this money, I have commenced small-scale business, and I am happy about it.
Before I was given the assistance, I was doing nothing. With this assistance, I thank God I will no longer take any loan to start any business.
Hawab Razak is a unit head conditional cash transfer office in Kaduna State.
Here in Kachia, we are paying 604 beneficiaries, and they have been paid for 4 months. That is 20,000. That is 5,000 per month. So they are collecting 20,000.
All in all, we have over 22,000 beneficiaries in the whole of Kaduna State. Presently, we are for this payment cycle, we are paying over 22,000 beneficiaries.
A deserted streets in a multi-million town like Kaduna Metropolis means one thing. The people in their millions have been locked down in their respective residences. Many of them in their need of routine means of livelihood. This makes the federal government conditional cash transfer project a welcome development, a game changer at a critical crossroads from despair to hope and purposeful aspiration. It may seem too little to many, but to the real beneficiaries is indeed a great heartwarming development that has helped in recouping their pride in nationhood.
I go sell market, I buy firewood, motor, they sell for my house, they get money, they chop, they feed my children. So I thank God. The person who come out this morning, God go bless them. I feel happy. I'm happy now. Get food for my house to eat. So I thank them who give me. I thank God who give us.
Since inception in 2017, the conditional cash transfer program of monthly 5,000 naira stipends has turned around lives in more than 22,000 households in 9 local government areas of Kaduna State.
Major Ma'a, life will surely be easier now in coping with the stay-at-home directive. Thousands of households in Oyo have benefited from the monthly conditional cash transfer of the federal government in the state. Correspondent Dayo Ogunshola reports that the beneficiaries were charged to utilize the money for pressing needs that can cushion the effect of the ongoing lockdown in the country.
People-oriented government is the one that caters for the interests of different classes of people that made up the society. Therefore,
for the benefiting households in Oyo State puts at 13,806, this kind of intervention cannot come at a time better than now, as it is a test of the federal government's goodwill, gathered in their tents, not unmindful of the social distance requirement to curtail coronavirus pandemic. The beneficiaries, which included aged men, women, as well as physically challenged, described the intervention as a novelty brought to relieve the poor.
We use the money for small trade, and a lot of profits is being realized for our daily needs.
We need to thank the government for coming to our aid. This is because we did not work for them. Government is only being considerate.
We see our old women in our local government. Those are beneficiaries, and this program is good. The way they coordinate this program is good, and it gets to those people who are authorized to benefit on it.